John's.
Focused on quality and convenience, there isn't much you won't find at Marie's Mini Mart. Home-style breads, sandwiches, plus a variety of artisan breads and delicious single-serve desserts available exclusively at our Frecker Drive location. Marie's Mini Mart, with 25 locations wherever you go, there we are.
Welcome to Sharing Our Cultures. This is the place where you get to meet amazing individuals from around the world who are making a difference in Newfoundland and Labrador. Joining me today are Wonkyong. She's a PhD candidate in anthropology, and Geraldine. She's the convener and founder of the Black Heritage Choir NL. And later on, you'll get an opportunity to hear that choir. Welcome back to Sharing Our Cultures, and joining us in conversation today is Wonkyong, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me here today.
All right, yes, I found out that you are a PhD candidate in anthropology, so that's fascinating.
Thank you. I'm studying anthropology since 2012 here at Memorial University in St. John's, Newfoundland.
Okay. Yeah. And what's your research topic?
My study is about the Korean migrant and their migration experience, especially through the lens of their language learning, language use, and in the Canadian context. Well, here the language means English and Korean for the Korean migrant.
Okay, all right. So far, what have you found out?
Well, anthropologists usually working with other people, into their lives, everyday lives, and meeting people and sharing their thoughts and listening to their stories and collecting those stories as a data. So I've been working with the Korean migrants who are living in St. John's, around St. John's for about 17 months. So I interviewed many Korean people about their migration stories and their living experience here in St. John's, especially about their, settlement stories and learning English, and using Korean language too within their families or in home language policies among them. And these are my topics.
Right. And I think these are really important and relevant because we can use them for other cultures as well.
Of course. My research mainly focuses how different kind of thoughts and belief about languages here mostly is about the English language, and how these kind of thoughts affect their self-understanding and self-establishing of their own identity, because identity is emergent. It's not a given thing. As Korean people or Korean migration is a kind of culturally attached with their background, but there are another kind of identities through their experience. So I'm focusing on what kind of other identities are emerging through their transnational migration experience.
Canada is on the other side of St. John's, Newfoundland Labrador is on the other side of Korea. So what is the motivation for Koreans to come to this province?
Well, it depends on every person's background and their background history in South Korea, but most of the people came to Canada, in St. John's for better life, for better opportunities for themselves and their children, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. What do most of your participants find out is different for them, or what they had not expected when they came here?
Before they came here, it is very interesting because before they came here in South Korea, they thought about those kind of things. Well, once I go to Canada, my English getting better and better every day. But after arriving in St. John's, they found it's really hard to find white people, the local people, who's using English in their daily lives. And they really hard to find a chance to conversation with the local people. That's the most hard part of their, daily English uses. So for them, they expect, once I came to the Canada, which is believed to the most Korean people as English-speaking country, but they found that there are a lot of different Englishes and different accent and different other languages in this country. So yeah, that was the most different thing than they thought.
Okay. So what motivated you to do this research in the first place?
I have a kid who was born here in St. John's, and I have a lot of friends who is, raising kids in this context. So I had a lot of conversations with them and about raising kids, raising a second generation Korean Canadians here in St. John's. It's really hard to keep the language, keep the Korean language alive in their families. And yeah, for those kind of conversation makes me to focusing about the language things. Why people, hard to put their efforts on learning English, and what brought them to this city. And at the same time, those people who have a family here in Canada, how do they keep their languages as alive?
Yeah. So have they found a way of keeping their languages alive? How do they do that?
Well, the most important thing is, using Korean language at home, at least at home, daily basis is the most important thing. However, many Korean people who has a spouse from, this cultural background, it's really hard to using Korean language at home. So it depends on the family backgrounds.
Okay. So if the children are here and their parents want them to learn the language, or to know the Korean language and use it and speak it, what would they need to do to make that happen? Now you have a child. How are you helping that child to keep the language, but at the same time the child is in a school where English is taught all the time?
That's right. That's very interesting and a great question. Well, for my family, my husband and I exclusively using Korean at home, and we are trying to keep Korean as our daily basis conversation. But once my child is trying to use English, when we are having a conversation with him, we just, no, you should speak Korean. That's what we are doing. But he's 7 years old, so far it's great. And I think the COVID situation, we locked in the house for 2 years, almost 2 years. That's that's a benefit for us to keeping Korean language alive. But many Korean families are struggling, especially when the kids have other siblings in that home, and the kids go to the school basically, English context. So the kids started to use English because English is their kind of a first language, the most comfortable language for them. So for those families, it is really hard to keep, saying that no, use Korean at home to their kids.
So how different is Korean from English?
Well, we have grammatically different orders. So English language, for example, is there is a subject and a verb and object, but Korean language, the verb is the last part, so it's pretty different. And we have a honorific, system, so many different levels of the language used to the older people, and then depends on the situations.
Right, okay. So what have you found so far in your research about the Korean families, the language and identity?
Korean people came to Canada for various reasons, for their educational, stepping stone, making a stepping stone for their better educational, and of course better job opportunity. And this can be for their better life for themselves and their welfare and their families, of course their children, and experience living in a different cultural background using different languages gave them a very hard time. Of course, this is a different context, but at the same time, it gives there to a lot of confidence for living anywhere on the globe. So they think themselves, many research participants think themselves as like a global person. And St. John's is one part of the very most eastern part of the Canada. For many people, many Korean people, is another place for to being global person. So it is very interesting. The St. John's can be a local, but at the same time, it can be a global for many Koreans.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. That's really interesting to see
Thank
that
you.
local and global piece that you just mentioned. And thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. And Sharing Our Cultures will be right back. Welcome back to Sharing Our Cultures. Joining me in conversation now is Geraldine Ankrah. Welcome to Sharing Our Cultures, Geraldine.
Thank you so much, Lloydetta.
It's great to see you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Right, and we're so happy that you're here with us today because we want to learn a lot about you, about the Black Heritage Choir. So why don't we start with that? Why was the choir started? You're the convener, so yes.
Yes, so I've always been a music person. And before I came to St. John's in February, I knew I would do something with music. So I came here and I met a lot of Black people. And when you see Black people, music is going to be a part of us. Yes. So I started speaking about it from somewhere June or July. Then we finally had our first rehearsal in December. And it was amazing. It's a group of different people. There's people from Jamaica, Nigeria, Ghana. And the common thing what we had in common was our love for music. I mean, it's just a Black thing. So we just decided to come together, and we're all Christians as well. Okay. So we decided to do gospel music or Black spiritual music. So in that we'll be preaching, singing about Christ, and also showing the Black culture, which is music generally. Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's right. Yeah. So how were you able to pull together all these people? Where were they?
So I go to a multicultural church, okay. and my church is a very musical church, okay. And then I also knew people who knew people from other churches who are also really musical. Okay. I'll always reiterate this: you see Black people and you see music, yes. Or you see rhythm, yes. So that's how we all met and we came together. So we're from different churches, different places, different backgrounds, and then we came together. And it's just an awesome time every time we have rehearsals.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I've watched your performance, and it was one of the reasons why I wanted you to talk about it, so that the rest of the province can see, how fantastic and great it is. And so I'm thinking about how you choose the songs that you'll sing. Where does your repertoire come from? I know it's a gospel genre, but
I'm the music director as well, but I allow anyone to do you have an idea, you want us to sing this or that, then I think about it, I put the songs together. So at the performance that you were at the Government House, you realize we did some reggae, we did a Black American spiritual, and then we did a Nigerian song as well. That's because we have these people in the group. So everyone just brings songs from their home countries, and then we mix it. So even though our genre is gospel, we're able to do gospel reggae, gospel African stuff, spirituals like Lean on Me, what you heard us saying, Stand By Me that we did with Minister Pam Parsons, and yes. So we get the inspiration from each person. Yes, yes. So
where do you think this love of music, this gift of music, where does that come from? I know it's around in the Black community. Where does that come from?
I don't know. I think we were just born with rhythm. For example, Black spirituals, in fact, the gospel genre started from the slave plantations. You'd be surprised. Like when, I mean, slavery was a horrible thing, but when they were taken from their continents to the Americas to go and work, you would find them belting away like beautiful rhythms, like, and that's where rhythms and blues, jazz, and everything came from slave plantations, which means that black people, even under oppression, you can't take music and rhythm away from us. So you'd find out that most of the genres now have their basis from the slave plantations, because black Africans took their music there. I think it's just from God, really.
So it's a real blessing.
Yes, yes.
Yes, and I think of that era, the time of slavery, when you talked about, was when they used songs to communicate to each other as well.
Yeah.
Like, because, you know, that was forbidden by the slave masters. Yeah. They couldn't congregate, or they couldn't express themselves, but then they were using songs. To do that. Yeah. And now, of course, it's a different era, but still those songs are really important. And how do you see the younger generation, maybe, who are kind of removed from all of that history, using the music that you sing?
So even though we're not in this, like, we're not under slavery, thank God, the message is still loud and clear. Like, for example, like Lean on Me is a black spiritual, and the message is clear. Especially in this pandemic, we realized how much we needed each other, how much we're supposed to be there for each other. So like the message still stands even years after. And also gospel music, which is singing about Christ, is very soothing and also reminds us about the love of God for us. So it is still really relevant, especially in times like this where we find all these pandemics and wars and everything going on. This is the time to hold on to the God that created us, especially through music.
Right.
Yes.
Because I remember the performance that I attended. Everybody, because that was one of the first times that they've been out of their homes, and as soon as you sang the Lean on Me, everybody could relate to that, because, you know, we had to lean on each other.
Exactly.
And we have to continue leaning, you know, on each other.
Exactly.
So this Black Heritage Choir, how many people in total are on that?
So I think, about 8 vocalists. We have a resident keyboardist, and then we have 4 on-call instrumentalists who are known to Music NL and the province.
Okay.
Like, yes,
Right.
so
Okay.
we like most of them come from my church and RCCG and other churches as well.
Okay.
So we usually do stuff with them, and then we also have our manager, Precious Family.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Precious, a great manager. Thanks for him.
Yes.
And so I know all of your work then. So this is sort of a volunteer experience then for everyone. So how are members of the choir balancing working full time? Some of them are studying full time, I guess.
Yes. So it's actually a sacrifice, because sometimes we have to. So for some of our events, we had to use our lunch break from work, quickly dash over and do what we had to do. But it's mostly we sacrifice a weekend or a day after work and then come together to rehearse. But even though it's volunteer work, we're hired for events, like hired and paid by Music NL. We did something recently with the Minister of Women and Gender Equality. That was a paid one. Yeah, so it's volunteerism, and it's a business as well, and it's also sharing our culture, pun intended.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So through this music, what do you want people to know, about the Black culture, maybe, and music?
So the first thing is that no matter where Black people go, we acknowledge that God created us and He takes care of us wherever we go. Okay. Even though I'm not in Ghana right now, God brought me here and He's taking care of me, first thing. Second thing, music is our way of just announcing our presence here, yes, and letting you know, there are Black people here, because music is what shows that Black people are here, yes. Okay. And thirdly, that we appreciate the welcome we've experienced here in Newfoundland, and this is our way of also showing Newfoundlanders or Canada a bit of home. So you have welcomed us to your home. Welcome to our mini home through music.
Yes,
yes,
that's right.
Yes.
And it's great, though, that you've made here your home. You feel comfortable enough to share, your music, your way of life, your history, and to be able to interact with people who are here as well.
Yes.
So what was it like for you now coming here? Were you here to study, or did you come directly to work?
So I came to study.
Okay.
So I started online in 2020 because of the pandemic. I couldn't come back. I came in February 2021, and I would say this on record anywhere that Newfoundlanders are the best human beings on earth, because my classmates have been more than family to me. Like, I have found a home away. Like, I actually have a Canadian mother who's my classmate's mother.
Right.
I don't want to even let you know the amount of money she spends on me, the amount of time. And where does she know me from? Nowhere.
Yes.
My classmates have also been really sacrificial in making me feel very comfortable here. So it's honestly been an amazing experience. Yeah, I really don't have anything bad to say. Well, except, well, maybe the job opportunities for immigrants, but that's the only negative thing. But generally, it's been a really good experience for me, yes.
Right. And so this good experience, is that going to motivate you to stay longer here?
Yes, my plan is, so that wasn't my original plan, but my classmates were like, Jerry, stay, Jerry, stay.
Okay.
They're amazing. I would say this anyway. Newfoundlanders are amazing.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, then. So we're going to make sure that you stay, because we want to keep that music going. And later on, we're going to hear some of that music and the choir, some members of your choir performing. So thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Appreciate
It's been
that.
a pleasure.
Okay, you're welcome. And now, here's that wonderful choir we talked about.
Come on. Come on. To the left. To the left. To the left. To the right. Come on. To the left. To the right. Come on.
Wasn't that fantastic? The choir, the blend of voices, the harmony, the melody. I hope you enjoyed that. So thank you to Wonkyong and Geraldine, and to you for being part of sharing our cultures today. Join us again next time for more remarkable stories from people from around the world who've come to call this place home.